Happy Friday morning, everybody. Welcome into another until 7 o'clock, as we are each and every day right here on JOX. And as always, we appreciate you making us a part of your on another week of college football, which I guess officially kicked off last night, but we've got a great slate of games. You got 4 or 5 games to pick from tonight. Then you've got the full slate coming up tomorrow, of course, around the Southeastern Conference and the rest of the country. So going to be exciting stuff to get into today as we get you ready, share some of our final thoughts on Alabama, Vanderbilt, and the other big matchups around the SEC and get you ready for what should be a fun weekend, Damian. So maybe not going to be quite as exciting as last weekend. Again, I think that might have been the best weekend. It's definitely the best weekend I had so far, maybe of the entire season in totality, but still some good games to look forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of found out your thoughts on this Alabama Vanderbilt matchup tomorrow. You had some things you had to get off your chest.
I
Hey,
was speaking from the heart. What can I say?
I see. Vanderbilt's the new they're like the new sleeping giant at this point. But it pretty much essentially they're saying that Alabama shouldn't even get off the bus tomorrow. They can't get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's saying, "Oh, Vanderbilt's going to cover the spread." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Listen, I'm just relaying the information that was given to me, Conrad. I didn't know if you maybe had a change of heart after you rested last night, but if nobody knows what I'm talking about, you should go back and listen to Three-Man Front yesterday, and Conrad had some things about just the a little bit of a preview of what he expects tomorrow.
No, I just had a couple things that I had to get off my chest, but I don't really feel like I went too far. But that's just me. So maybe I did go too far. But no, I just we've just spent so much time talking about certain people and certain teams and all of the flair and thing. I just feel like it. I don't know. I feel like a lot of it too goes with like the Johnny Manziel stuff too, where it's like, do we have to do these things now? And again, like if that's what leads you to victory and leads you to success, if you're a program like Vanderbilt, I get it, right? And you want to capitalize in the moment, and I can understand all of that. It's just, does it not feel very off-brand for a guy like Clark Lee in a program like Vanderbilt to want to have somebody like a Johnny Manziel on a sideline? I mean, he played at Texas A&M. Like, he has no affiliation with your program whatsoever outside of the fact that your transfer quarterback idolizes him. Like,
that's literally it.
I'm sure Ty Simpson has a favorite quarterback too, but I don't think Alabama's going to invite him to come watch the game on the sideline. You know, it's just stuff like that where it's like, I don't know. It kind of reminds me too, again, I get it was cool for the kids. I'm not trying to like totally crap on this, but it's like when Deion first got to Colorado and there were like 8 rappers on the sideline every game. You're like, okay, I get you're generating buzz about the program. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's like, are we making the main thing still? And it feels like maybe you're not.
There's a lot more glitz and glamour that come with an Alabama Vanderbilt matchup that I've never really seen before.
Yeah, and if that's what Vanderbilt wants to do and that's who they are, then there's no problem with that. They've been a great team so far this year. Just, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes maybe that stuff comes back to bite you, but I could be totally wrong. So
who knows?
We'll find out tomorrow.
We'll find out tomorrow. And to your point about Ty Simpson's favorite quarterback, he's actually calling the game tomorrow, Alabama and Vanderbilt.
Oh, has he said that before, that Greg's his favorite quarterback?
No, I just assumed that
okay.
first national champion, and that's what Ty.
Anything else?
Yeah, they're both quarterbacks with elite receivers around them.
Okay. Yeah. No, I didn't.
Their game's kind of similar.
Is it?
Yeah, accurate passers, a little bit taller than you expect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Star receiver that drops it sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's about it.
We do have.
That's about it.
Well, who knows? Maybe one day we'll find out who Ty Simpson's favorite Alabama quarterback is. But yeah, we have a great show for you today. We got a lot to get into as we get more, give you our final thoughts on Alabama, Vanderbilt, and make our picks, of course, for the week. But let's kick things off now. Let's take a look back at last night, because last night was actually a great night in the world of sports. So you had Thursday night football going on there in the National Football League, and what actually turned out to be a really, really good game last night. So you had two 3-1 teams, the 49ers and the Rams, doing battle there in SoFi Stadium out in Los Angeles. And I mean, the quarterback play in this game was just absolutely phenomenal. So you had Mac Jones filling in for Brock Purdy. He goes for 342 through the air, 2 touchdowns. Matthew Stafford on the other side, he throws for 389 and 3 touchdowns. No turnovers between either of the quarterbacks, or no interceptions were thrown last night between the two of them. And they combined for 731 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's pretty good. That's certainly pretty good there. So you had the 49ers who came out really, really hot. The Rams kind of imploding early on. You had that fumble early. And the 49ers, I mean, they were just taking it to him. Mac Jones was driving them down the field. And so you had it 17-7 at halftime in favor of the 49ers. But, credit to Matthew Stafford and the Rams. They came out, looked like a different team in the second half. They outscored the 49ers 16-6 in the second half. Kick a field goal with a couple seconds left in regulation to send it to overtime. And then the 49ers able to go get a field goal and then get a big stop on 4th and 1. The Rams could have kicked a field goal to, I guess, essentially just tie it and let overtime continue. But, Sean McVay, guess he doesn't like that. And I think, too, I do wonder for coaches, like after you watch the Packers and Cowboys game, are you like, I'm not letting that happen, so we might as well just go for it, right? We're going to try to just end this thing here. So the Rams go for it on 4th and 1. 49ers get a big stop, and they walk away with the victory 26-23 last night in L.A.
And you know what really upsets me is the fact that San Francisco calls a timeout to get a look and see what L.A. was going to line up in on that 4th and 1 play. Matthew Stafford literally has single-handedly gotten you to where you are. Now, I can understand analytics will probably tell you 4th and 1, you may want to run the ball.
But why are you taking the ball out of his hands?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why are you taking
Fair.
it out of borderline Hall of Famers' hands? I'd line up in empty and have some sort of play design. And if you want to get Kyron Williams the ball, you showed earlier in that drive that you can find like a little screen pass here and there, get a yard. Kyron Williams had a bad last 10 minutes of the football game. He fumbles with a potential should have never gone to overtime. Could have never gone to overtime if he holds onto the football, but he gets punched out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he gets punched and the ball gets punched out there on the 1-yard line going in, which could frustrate some people, especially if you had the Rams money line. That's neither here nor there. But the 4th and 1 play in hindsight, of course, it's always 20/20. But I would have left it up to Matthew Stafford, either throwing an incomplete pass, or if all else fails, he can get us a yard if he has to scramble out. At least I hope he can.
Yeah.
But shout out to Mac Jones stepping in. And I was in the group message with a couple of my buddies, and they're like, so what are the 49ers going to do when Brock Purdy comes back? I was like, well, they're paying him $265 million.
I was about to say, they're going to play him, but Mac Jones, all this makes me do is you go back and you wonder, again, what happens if the 49ers draft Mac Jones instead of Trey Lance? Because that was the rumor, was that they were going to take Mac Jones with the 3rd overall pick. Some people thought, no, that's too high. You can't take him that early. And the Trey Lance thing, obviously, that was a huge bust. Like, you can make fun of Mac Jones all you want. He's had a much better NFL career than Trey Lance ever will. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, it does make you wonder a little bit. But, yeah,
this could have been your guy a long time ago.
He's 3-0 in 3 games as the starter there for the
Yeah. And, 49ers. Again, shout out to Mac Jones.
He did it. They didn't have their top 2 receivers,
Nope.
their starting tight end either. So, like, he's not out. He's out there with the backups.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of credit goes to Kyle Shanahan. The man can diagnose with the best of them. Like the X's and O's.
No doubt.
He's on a different level. But he's kind of showing that if you're Brock Purdy, I got paid $265 million. So I'm not really too upset about it. But we can kind of win without you.
Yeah, I mean, there is.
Right.
Well, and that's why this is why I never wanted the 49ers to pay Brock Purdy what they did is you felt like you could probably go get a lot of guys out there, and because Kyle Shanahan's so good at what he does, and you could make them work to the same level that Brock Purdy is, because Brock Purdy, in my mind, is essentially an NFL game manager. Now, he's a little better than that, but he's not. There's no world where he should be one of the 10 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL, in my opinion.
I'm with you.
You should just pay Kyle Shanahan more because he's the one kind of working the magic there. But that's a whole nother conversation in and of itself. So big win there for the 49ers last night, 26-23 over the Rams as they now move to 4-1 on the season. You did have college football action last night. New Mexico State, they take down Sam Houston 37-10. So Sam Houston now 0-5 on the season. New Mexico State, they find themselves at 3-2. And quickly in the world of Major League Baseball as well, you had 3 elimination games yesterday as you had the Tigers and the Guardians doing battle there in the wild card. Detroit, they get a 6-3 victory there, so they advance to the ALDS over the Guardians. You had the Cubs and Padres over on the National League side. Cubs get a 3-1 win. Padres had a chance there late in the ninth inning, had some guys on base, but not able to tie it up in the ninth. So the Cubs, they win 3-1. They advance to the NLDS. And then great game last night. Quick shout out to my New York Yankees and Cam Schlittler. Got to be careful with that one, as he was incredible last night. Maybe the best rookie pitching performance, at least in recent modern or postseason history for Major League Baseball. He goes 8 shutout innings, no walks, 12 strikeouts for the Yankees last night against the Red Sox in an elimination game. So yeah, what a game. Really, really cool to see him go out there and be that lights out as a rookie in that moment. So the Yankees, they'll move on to take on the Blue Jays in the ALDS as well. And that is your MLB postseason update as we now move on to the next round starting this weekend. Slate of college football games that we need to get to, starting off, of course, with College Game Day in Tuscaloosa. And it's like this has been a problem a lot lately, Damian, and that is the celebrity guest picker on College Game Day. If you haven't seen yet, we'll tell you the somewhat controversial celebrity guest picker that you'll see in Tuscaloosa on College Game Day on Saturday. We'll tell you who it is and why I don't really like it. That's JOX. Welcome back into Morning Jocks, 617 here. You tuning into us each and every day here on Jocks, your home for college football. Conrad and Damian here with you, and we got to get into this college game day guest picker situation. And so there's a couple things. So if you haven't seen who the guest picker is going to be for Alabama versus Vanderbilt tomorrow in Tuscaloosa, you would probably think to yourself, there's a lot of guys in the NFL that played at Alabama. There's a lot of them. Some have retired already, but there's a lot of guys to pick from, right?
Just a handful.
And I'll give them credit, right? Like last year, you had Miss Terry was a guest picker one time with Nick Saban on there. That was cool. Of course, you've had Joe Namath. Like that's he's been on there a few times. Great representatives for the university. Can't complain about either of those selections. And glad that they've gotten an opportunity to do it. But it just feels bizarre that now you have Theo Vaughn, who's going to be the guest picker for Alabama and Vanderbilt tomorrow. Does Theo Vaughn have any connection to the University of Alabama that I'm unaware of? Because last time I checked, he was desperately trying to get Diego Pavia's mom to go on a date with him.
Yeah.
And now he's coming to pick and be on game day in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, representing the Alabama football program, because that's where college game day is going, and you normally do something. When they went to Oklahoma earlier this year, who'd they have on? Trey Young. Yeah.
Candace Parker was Tennessee. LeVar Arrington was Penn State last week.
Yep, you had Matthew Tkachuk a couple of weeks ago. Who, he's a hockey player, but so you have, what are all of those people, Damien? What do they have in common?
They're either graduates or alumni of the school that they're there. That at college game day is that.
And what did they do at those schools?
Succeed, have great success.
They played a sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Trust me, I'm with you, brother.
Well, and I just, again, I go back to, it reminds me of a couple of years ago when you had an Alabama LSU game in Tuscaloosa. Do you remember who the game day picker was for Alabama and LSU?
Was it Nate Bargatze?
It was Nate Bargatze, who's a Vanderbilt fan from Nashville, and he was the guest picker for Alabama and LSU. And so now we're back in Tuscaloosa. You have Vanderbilt coming in, which, again, great. And we're doing Theo Vaughn, who, again, is going to be pulling for Vanderbilt on Saturday because he wants to go out with Diego Pavia's mom.
It's fitting the agenda, brother.
That's the best that they could get for this matchup. You're telling me, Julio Jones is retired, I'm pretty sure.
He's got time.
Heck, Mac Jones just played last night.
Exactly. He'll probably be in Tuscaloosa this weekend.
C.J.
Mosley just retired. Amari Cooper just retired.
And again, it's not the end of the world, obviously, right? It's the college game day picker who it not going to have any impact on the game or anything, but it feels like for whatever reason with Alabama, and I know I just said they've had Miss Terry and Joe Namath on and stuff, and they have, but it just feels like they're able to go and get former athletes and people that you would recognize that are affiliated with that specific university on a regular basis for all of these other schools. And for whatever reason, for Alabama, it just feels, and maybe it's because, they go to Alabama. They've been there, let's be honest, like a lot in recent memory. And so I don't know, maybe they feel like they run out of people to ask. And so many people have said no, that they just don't want to go back down that well for Alabama. But again, it's bizarre that, again, you've had in the last, 2 years now, you've had Nate Bargatze and Theo Vaughn be guest pickers in Tuscaloosa for a top 25 Alabama matchup. This time with Vanderbilt, and last time it was LSU, and that's what
you try to find the correlation to all of this. They could have got Mark Sears. He's an Alabama legend at this point.
Why not? Have Nate Oates do it. He's there. He's there in Tuscaloosa.
They could have got you.
No.
Oh, no, my fault.
I appreciate that, but no.
Yeah, I'm saying you're an alumni.
No.
You're well known.
I think they'd ask. I think they just have Greg go down there and hop on set before they ask me to do anything. But I just I saw that last night, and I'm like, really, this is what we're waiting. It just feels it feels kind of lazy, right? And this is not a shot at Theo Vaughn. Like, I think he's kind of funny. It's not that I don't like anything about Theo Vaughn, but it just feels like, it's almost like, all right, who do we have on speed dial? Who's a celebrity that we know will come up and, want some FaceTime on TV? And like, it just feels like you're not going out there to bring something to the experience that will relate to the fans that are going to wake up early and be there tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to go full Bammer, you could have got Roll Tide Willie.
Well, that's my thing, right? Like, if we're going to go this route, just go get Roll Tide Willie.
Yeah.
Like, and Drewski or something, like, right? Because they're friends and
right. It's a package deal. They could care. They don't care about anything but the Tide.
Yeah, I just.
No,
whatever.
I'm with you.
It's
just
weird.
Yeah, it's just the connection. What connection do you have besides Theo Vaughn wants to date Diego Pavia's mom? So I kind of have a thought of where he's gonna go when it comes to this ball game. Like, he's probably gonna have something clever and funny to say. But I do think him and Pat McAfee could have some fun on set. Nick Saban not so much, but he's probably looking at him like, what's wrong with this guy? But I mean, he is. I'm with you. He's entertaining. He's pretty funny, but kind of going with the themes that I'm used to College Game Day with. There's some connection with the host school that you're at, and it's like, why this week all of a sudden do we got to have Theo Vaughn for Vanderbilt in Alabama?
I want to start a petition that if in the future, right, if they can't get a representative for your school, right, if College Game Day is going to your campus and they can't get a former player or somebody affiliated with that program and that university, then you just default to Timothy Chalamet because he had probably the best analysis of any celebrity I've ever seen on College Game Day. So I'm like, if we're at least going to do that, just go and get the dude that clearly knows what he's talking about.
Knows ball.
But anyways, I digress. That was just, I just thought that was kind of ridiculous yesterday. But at the end of the day, not going to have an impact on the game whatsoever. But it seems like a lot of you guys on the Courtesy GMC text line feel the same way. Like Jamie, who chimes in and says, that's some bull crap. We ought to protest and not watch College Game Day. Isn't Theo Vaughn from Louisiana? I do believe he's from Louisiana and has some, I guess, is a LSU, maybe an LSU fan or used to be an LSU fan or something like that. Let's see. Here you go. Okay. Yeah. Michael chimes in. He says, remember in 2011, the game of the century, LSU at Alabama, and you had the former LSU pitcher, Brian Wilson, was the guest picker in Tuscaloosa when they were playing LSU in a 1-versus-2 matchup.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. See, it's just stuff like that where it's like, what are we doing here? Again, I'm not like pouting like, oh, I don't know if he's going to pick Alabama on the show tomorrow, but isn't the whole idea that you get someone who's a homer for the school that you're going to? That's kind of the whole shtick.
Yeah, that's the theme I've seen.
Because even when it's going to be like, Ohio State at Rutgers, and Ohio State's going to boat race Rutgers, right? You go and get a Rutgers fan that comes up there and says, we're going to beat Ohio State. We're going to rally the troops. This is the greatest day in Rutgers football. That's the entire point of the segment. But no, we're not going to do that because I guess Julio Jones didn't want to answer his phone or something. But hey, that's all right. It's all right. I'm sure busy.
If they really wanted to mess it up, they could have got Mark Ingram.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
I don't think that one would.
Yeah, probably been some lawsuits along the way. But
I don't think that would happen. Yeah, see, someone says, what about Katy Perry for Ole Miss? I think she's at least said she's an Ole Miss fan. But, yeah, I mean, it's not somebody that's like, I guess I don't think Katy Perry when I think of Ole Miss. But I mean, maybe some people do. And then finally someone chimes in. They said, do you guys remember that Theo was actually on game day for the Alabama-Georgia SEC title game 2 years ago? I do remember that. So it's just kind of, that's kind of weird, but that's just the way that it works. But whatever, it's College Game Day. It is what it is. Hopefully Theo Vaughn goes on there and makes just some absolutely fantastic, can't-miss predictions tomorrow at 10:55 a.m. on your television sets. So that is me getting that off of my I'm sorry, it's been a bad couple of days for me.
No, it's fine, Conrad. The focus has been you have revenge on your mind.
Yes.
So you're just ready for the game to kick off and all this hoopla. You're eating leather. I understand.
Well, I am ready for that, but I'm also ready to make some picks because it is almost our favorite time of the week right here on Morning Jocks. Week 6 is big hour pick straight to you. That's coming up next on this Friday edition of Morning Jocks. 6:31. Welcome back into we're about to make our picks for the weekend, our final thoughts and predictions on the biggest games coming up here in week 6 of the college football season. And as always, you can join along. You can play along at home by texting in 205-834-9450. That'll get you on the courtesy GMC text line for what we call Final Score Friday, where you can send in your final score predictions. We will get to them a little bit later in the show after me and Damien deliver our picks to you right now. All right, let's get started, Damien. We got 5 games I want to look at today, and we will start off in SEC country with the early game here in our conference of choice, as you have the Kentucky Wildcats traveling to Athens to take on the Georgia Bulldogs. Coming off the loss to Alabama last weekend, you've got a Georgia team that's going to be a little more motivated, has a chip on their shoulder, maybe even wants to prove that last year was a bit of a fluke in terms of how close Kentucky made that football game. So Georgia, as it stands right now, 20.5-point favorite, 48.5 the total there for that game coming up in Athens. And look, I think Kentucky defensively, maybe early on, if Georgia comes out and starts kind of slow, because that's kind of become their MO a little bit here the last few years, is they don't always get off to the best starts. But I feel like a motivated Georgia team looking to remind everybody that, hey, we only lost by a field goal to that Alabama team. Maybe we even should have won that game last weekend. We're going to go and take it to the worst team in the conference. I think Georgia wins big. I would probably have to go Georgia minus the 20.5 in that one.
Yeah, if I had to give a score prediction, I think Georgia wins 35-14. I think Georgia offensively, yeah, I think Kentucky can make it a little bit difficult for them. But when you've got the Jimmies and Joes, it helps a lot. They can overcome a lot of that. And Georgia's kind of gotten back to the Georgia we're used to, of being able to run the football effectively, take a little bit of pressure off of Gunnar Stockton, where all he has to do is just be a point guard, essentially. And I just don't think Kentucky can score. I just don't.
No.
Boley is.
No, they might get shut out, honestly.
Yeah, Boley's not. I thought you couldn't get worse with Zach Calzada, but you can. I just don't see how Kentucky can really make this a ball game. I'm laying the 20.5 too with Georgia as well.
Yeah, just again, similar to like in Alabama, it's very similar with Georgia, right? A ticked off Georgia team playing at home against inferior team like Kentucky. That seems like a recipe for a long day for the Wildcats. How about we move on to the 2:30 game, or well, we've got 2 of them, but one of the 2:30 matchups you've got coming up in the SEC. So this is going to be 2:30 kick on ESPN down in Gainesville, the Swamp, as Texas rolls in to take on a Florida team that has, I think it's safe to say, been one of the biggest disappointments in college football so far this year. But they have a chance to remind everybody that they are still alive. They're still fighting for their head coach, Sunbelt Billy, down there in the Swamp. Florida and Texas. Texas only a 5.5-point favorite. This line has shrunk, and the total for that one is 42.5. Now, I'll be honest, if you could get Texas at like 7.5, got that early in the week, maybe I would feel good about that. I think Texas. Look, honestly, I would probably lean the under in this one, just because both of the offenses have been really, really bad this year. I think Florida's defense has been pretty sharp, honestly, and if they just had average quarterback play, I think the record looks a little bit different. I think you beat USF. I think you beat LSU, not Miami, but I think you might be 4-1 right now as opposed to 1-3, or excuse me, 3-1. And so I don't think you're gonna have a lot of scoring. Texas's defense is legit, one of the very best in the entire country. I have no doubt about that. So I'd probably lean the under, but I do think Texas is good enough to win. I'll take Texas by like 20-13.
Yeah, this may not be the most eye-pleasing game.
No.
Especially if you're looking for quality offenses. You've heard Coach Napier say that DJ Lagway has a different look in his eye. Well, you're going against the Texas defense, who's probably one of the better ones in college football, especially here in the SEC. And whether you got a different look or not, I just don't think this matchup is going to be ideal for you. I think Florida can probably slow the game down a little bit with Jaden Baugh and the running back room that they have, but it's still not going to be enough. I think Texas not necessarily gets right, but I don't feel like it's going to be a game where we come away thinking that Florida actually had a chance. I think Texas wins by 7-10.
And yeah, That's going to be a very interesting game, right? Because I think for Texas, honestly, I mean, I know you look at Florida's record, but if Arch, I'm just so curious to see how Arch Manning looks, right? Has he learned? Has he grown? Over the bye week and after the Ohio State game, and getting to play some, less than stellar competition, and he struggled against that. But then you saw Sam Houston; it looked like he maybe turned a corner a little bit. Can you carry that into SEC play? And I think that'll make people maybe we'll get a better idea of what Texas really is moving forward, because I feel like they're still a hard team to kind of put your finger on right now. All right, keeping it in the Southeastern Conference, 6:30 kickoff. Really interested in this one. Mississippi State traveling to College Station as they're going to take on the Texas A&M Aggies. So Texas A&M now a 16.5-point favorite. The total is at 55.5. The question for me, if you're Mississippi State, have you rebounded from the Tennessee? Have you been able to pick yourself up this week, dust yourself off, and go, man, that really stunk. We were right there. We had them, but we lost it in overtime. Can you now mentally refocus and get ready for this Texas A&M team? Because if that's the case, I think Mississippi State can cover the 16.5 all day. I think Texas A&M is going to win, but I'm going to bank on Jeff Lebby and those guys being resilient, being mentally strong after what happened against Tennessee last weekend. So give me Mississippi State. I think they cover the 16.5, but I think Texas A&M probably wins this one. I don't know, 28-21, something like that. But I think the Aggies come out on top.
I'm with you. I think Texas A&M wins the ball game, but 16.5 is just too many points for Mississippi State because they can score. Now, the biggest thing is, can they put pressure on Marcel Reed? The quicker you can get Texas A&M out of their fight mode of trying to be able to run the football effectively. Now, Ruben Owens and those guys, they have been doing a great job. But the quicker you can make Texas A&M one-dimensional, the better chances that you're going to have. So I think Mississippi State keeps it respectful. I think they keep it within the number, but I do think Texas A&M ends up winning that ball game.
All right, another big one coming up at 6:30 tomorrow night. This one going to be over on ABC down in the state of Florida, a place that many Alabama fans will not very fondly remember. Doak Campbell Stadium there, as Florida State is going to play host to Miami. So Miami undefeated, Florida State coming off the loss to Virginia. So Miami's a 4.5-point favorite on the road. Man, this one is really, really tough for me. I want to take Florida State in the sense of, that home environment was incredible for the Alabama game. And if they can replicate that on Saturday, I think it's going to give them a really, really strong opportunity. But Miami, I mean, there's no doubt they've been one of the 2 or 3 best teams in all of college football this year. I'm going to give the lean to Miami. I think they're going to be able to pull out the victory, but with them at 4.5, give me Florida State to cover. Maybe a field goal type game here. I think it's really, really close. I think Florida State has an excellent chance to win, but I'm going to go with Miami, who's been arguably the best team in football so far this year, or most consistent.
Yeah, and I think Carson Beck really locks in this next stretch of games, and I think it starts with Florida State. Miami's the better football team. Style favors Florida State because you get them at home, and if I hadn't seen what happened against Virginia, I'd feel a lot different.
Yeah, yes.
But now I think it's one of those situations where you're going to let Virginia beat you twice, and it kind of just sticks in your brain a little bit. The first, Thomas Castellanos turnover, I can see it being a snowball effect where Miami's too good of a team to let that happen, let that slip away, and they jump on them, and I think Miami wins this one. I think it'll be a close game, but kind of similar to Texas and Florida. I'm not going to come away thinking that Florida State really, really was going to make it a ball game. I think Miami kind of rolls them a good little bit. I think on the score, somewhere between 10-14.
Oh, wow, okay.
But it feels a lot worse because it just doesn't. It never really feels like Florida State is within a puncher's chance. So I think Miami wins it.
Okay, there you go. We both take Miami, but have a little different perspective on what the scores might be. And now we'll wrap up with this one. College Game Day, we've talked about it all week. 2:30 kick on ABC as Vanderbilt travels down to take on Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Alabama, what I'm looking at now, I'm seeing an 11.5-point spread. It had gotten down to 10 or 10.5 earlier in the week, so we'll keep an eye on that. But for right now, we'll go 11.5 for Alabama. The point total is 55.5. And again, I think Vanderbilt's a good team. I think they're going to score a fair number of points. I think they're going to make Alabama sweat. I really, really do. But I think if you had one game on the schedule that you were circling, if you're Alabama, one game that you were going to make sure you were prepared for, they're not going to catch you off guard this year. Alabama played a pretty bad game at times last year in terms of turning the ball over, time of possession, just absolutely imploding in those areas last year. If Alabama doesn't do that, I think they are the better football team. So I'm going to take Alabama. I'm going to go over the 55 and a half because I do think there's a lot of points, but I'm going to take Alabama to win. Give me the Tide 38-27 tomorrow in Tuscaloosa.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think Alabama rolls them. I'm kind of in your defense. You were pretty ticked off on how everybody's trying to make it seem like Vanderbilt is now all of a sudden ready to be in the conversations with the likes of Alabama. Yeah, you got them last year. You caught them sleepwalking. That ain't happening in Bryant-Denny on Saturday. I think they lay it on them pretty thick. And I think it's one of those they jump out on them early and they're starting to remove all doubt. I think Kalen DeBoer has gotten a little chippier, got a little bit more edge to him now because of what happened last year. Diego Pavia, appreciate the clicks. We appreciate the conversations, but now it's one of those things that is at the crib. So give me Alabama 42-21.
Wow, 42-21. All right, Damian picking a 21-point victory there for the Tide. So I think we're both in agreement. So we both have Georgia over Kentucky, Texas over Florida, A&M over Mississippi State, Miami over FSU, and Alabama over Vanderbilt. So just in terms of straight up predictions, that's who me and I have. So we're in agreement on all 5 of those here this week. So those are our picks for Week 6 coming up starting tomorrow. Around the SEC as well as the Score Friday here on the show. And we'd love to hear from you, 205-834-9450 on the courtesy GMC text line. Going to happen with Alabama and Vanderbilt. The other big games coming up this weekend in college football. We hear those from you next on JOX. 6:48 here. Welcome back into Morning Jocks. Conrad and Damian here with you until 7 o'clock when we'll hand you off to McElroy and Cube. And about to get to your final score predictions here on a final score Friday, 205-834-9450 there on the courtesy the text line. But before we get to that, I have an exciting opportunity to share with you here from JOX and our friends at Total Sports Travel. Because we are about to give you an opportunity to go see Alabama football on the road this year when they head to Columbia to take on South Carolina. So one lucky winner right now can enter to score a trip for two that includes round-trip airfare, a two-night stay at the Ryder Hotel in Charleston, 2 tickets to Saturday's game between Alabama and South Carolina, and transportation to and from the stadium. All you have to do to enter to win this package is text the keyword TIDE, TIDE, to 205-834-9450. Again, you're going to text the keyword TIDE, like Alabama Crimson Tide, TIDE, to 205-834-9450. Again, don't miss your shot at the ultimate game day experience. Go see Alabama and South Carolina do battle there later this season in Columbia, courtesy of our friends at Total Sports Travel and your home for college football right here on JOX. So now we head to the courtesy GMC text line to get your final score predictions for the weekend. And we will start off with Bammer Abroad here, who sends in his predictions for the weekend. He says Alabama 35, Vanderbilt 24. And then he also throws in Illinois 42, Purdue 28.
Dang it. Purdue's going to get 28 points?
Barry Odom, man. Don't doubt him.
Yeah.
Be a big win for Illinois after last week, getting back in the poll.
Yep.
Don't worry. We remember you lost by 53 points. We remember. All right, Mike from Hayden, he chimes in. He goes, Georgia 35, Kentucky 9. Then he has Alabama 48, Vanderbilt 24.
I got a question for you, Conrad.
Yeah.
Do you know the last time Kentucky beat Georgia? What year it was?
Were we alive?
We were.
1999. I don't know.
No, it was 2009.
2009?
2009.
I'm trying to think who it was. Matthew Stafford still there? Or was that the year after Matthew Stafford left?
It was the year after.
It's been a minute, though.
It has. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be tomorrow. I do not think it's going to be tomorrow, but you never know. All right, Mike chimes in. He says, either Vanderbilt pulls off the win or Alabama wins by 50. I don't see any in between. I've seen a few people have that mindset of, all right, either Alabama's going to absolutely smoke them or they're going to lose. Maybe that is ultimately what happens. It's just interesting that there's a lot of people out there that are like, I don't think that if this is a close game, I don't think Alabama wins. So we'll have to see. And, of course, yeah. Auburn 3 by week 10.
Ah!
You knew you were going to.
Some real haters out there.
You knew we were going to get a couple of those, probably. Let's see. This says Alabama 38-17 over Vanderbilt, and they send in a picture. It says College Game Day went through Haleyville yesterday. There's a picture of all of the game day buses there driving through Alabama. Very cool. Appreciate you chiming that in. Let's see. This person texts in and they say, don't worry, Conrad, you're wasting your energy. Game day is washed. They don't cater to their home teams like they used to. And then they also chime in and say, y'all have been saying Miami is the better team for years. Against who? He has FSU winning 35-30, Alabama winning 45-28, and he has Texas winning 10-6.
Ugh. That's going to be disgusting.
Let's see. This one comes in. It says, as a diehard Bama fan, I have the utmost respect for Pavia as a player. Dude is a winner, grinder, underdog, fighter, you name it. I mean, I hope we leave him crying on the sideline like we did Tim Tebow that year, but I love the dude as a player and hope he has a successful rest of his career.
That's fair.
Let's see. This text rolls in. It says, the refs will be undefeated tomorrow.
They usually are.
I wonder if I would just be curious if you mean in terms of you think they're going to help Alabama or they're going to help Vanderbilt. How you see that one playing out. Let's see. Aaron and Lincoln says, why are people so upset about Theo Vaughn being the game day picker? It makes perfect sense. I would. Why does it make perfect sense? Like maybe again, like if I'm missing something, that's fine. I don't. again, you have a guy that's from the state of Louisiana. He has no ties to the university, and his closest tie to this game is he wants to date Diego Pavia's mom. Like, and I don't know, maybe, and look, I could see from ESPN's standpoint of Johnny Manziel's going to be there. We really want to lean into this whole Diego Pavia angle. Like, and maybe that's just what it is, right? It's ESPN just really leaning into that, which is fine. But, you know, the game's in Tuscaloosa. I feel like that's kind of the whole point for people is, why are you doing this in Tuscaloosa? If it's in Nashville, sure, who cares? Barry from Anniston chimes in his score predictions for the weekend. Texas 20, Florida 10, FSU 24, Miami 21. And then also we have Alabama 38 to Vanderbilt's 20. Appreciate all those score predictions coming in there. David says, David's got a bunch here. Georgia 35, Kentucky 13, Texas 21, Florida 10, Mississippi State 35, A&M 31, Miami 28, FSU 24, and Alabama 38, Vanderbilt 28. So pretty no shockers there, except for Mississippi State beating A&M. That would be certainly a huge win there for the Bulldogs. And Nick from North Birmingham, he has Alabama 42, Vanderbilt 34, Texas A&M 28, Mississippi State 20, Georgia 20, Kentucky 10, and he has Florida beating Texas 30-23. Wow, that would be a ton of points for Florida against that defense. That would be remarkable. And then Miami 35, Florida State 23.
Okay.
We got some people. All right, yeah, this one rolls in. Mississippi State 27, A&M 24. Okay.
This does kind of feel like a prime spot for A&M to blow it, though.
I'm confused. I got to give this dude credit. So this person's texting in.